Now, BaitulMaal, created by Kenyan Muslim scholars, is an Islamic financial institution. It has been touted to increase revenue collection for the government and create jobs for the local population. But what are the nuances when it comes to lending money and an Islamic institution? Joining us is Abdiaziz Saney, Special Operations Representative for BaitulMaal, to give us some insight. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Mark.
Now, let's start off by explaining what exactly is BaitulMaal. What does it do?
Okay, thank you. BaitulMaal is Islamic institution, an institution that provides Muslims a platform that liberates Muslims from riba, because dangerous aspect of banking today is interest. And when you look at Islam, the 7 deadliest most sins, number 3 is riba, interest. It comes just after blasphemy and murder. So basically, this is an institution that has come to actually help Muslims, provide them a platform where they can be able to borrow money free of interest.
All right, so you're saying that, of course, interest is one of the deadliest sins when it comes to Islam, right after murder and
blasphemy.
Okay. Sure. Now, if you're providing this service, then is it only limited to Muslims?
Okay, right now, we want to clean the Muslims first. Once we are done with them and we make sure that every Muslim is able to actually abide by what the principles of Islam as far as financial transaction is concerned, once that one is fulfilled, we will be able to also open doors for other people to actually have transaction with us.
Okay. Now, you know, with an average bank, of course, when you go to borrow a loan or you go to borrow money, you need to make sure that there's a guarantee. You need to make sure that you know the interest particulars that you will have to pay back and things like that. How does it work with BaitulMaal if I were to want to take a loan?
As far as security or securitization is concerned, we don't work like the banks. In fact, we don't want to be called a bank. It's an Islamic financial institution.
Yes.
So we have various shares and various products that are available. And the most important one is the shareholding, whereby you deposit a certain amount of money, then you buy a certain share from that particular company. It is in holding for almost 6 months, and then you are liable for that free loan interest and also earn dividends from the company. So as far as security is concerned, what is actually being put for the person to earn money or for him to be granted to take that particular loan is the share of the certificate itself. We don't want to take the house or perhaps you know, as far as the logbook of the client is concerned.
Yes.
But basically the share itself, because the shares themselves are increasing as the months go by. Like last month or the previous 2 months, the amount of share that we had is not the same today, it's increasing. So the share itself, certificate itself, is guarantee that you can be able to sell that particular certificate to another client to recover that particular money in case the client fails to pay that particular amount.
Now, one of the things that I have read, and it's quite fascinating, is that you don't use conventional currency, you use gold and silver.
That is true. We use silver, gold dinar and silver dirham. When you look at money,
yes,
money in its entirety, actually what community achieves, or as far as the reflection of a community is concerned, is about what they want to achieve, and the money, what they want to need that particular money to use it, rather. When you look at the capitalist, what do I say, the banking system and how they work, when you look at that, they actually go with money is created by the banks. So the fractional reserve banking system creates money out of thin air. And what happens is, that's why the licenses of banks are actually priced. So for us, what we are saying is that particular money that is created by the fractional reserve banking system is the money that is actually lent. And then more debt is created and that one is lent. And there's a problem with that, because that becomes, the money itself has a problem. So we ask ourselves, first of all, we need to know the starting point will be, what is money in Islam? Money in Islam is commodity money. It has to have an intrinsic value. That is to mean that rather than it being money, does it have any other use? When you look back at the history of Islam, the BaitulMaal, in fact, as the name itself, commodity or money was regarded as barley or wheat or debt at that particular moment, gold as well as silver. But for now, we cannot be able to deal with barley and wheat as well as dates because of
barter trade, and now it's very different.
Yeah, it's very different
Yes.
because of storage difficulties. Now we have opted to use the gold dinar and the silver dirham because this one, it is transactable. You can be able to actually make it a currency trade, and it's easier for actually clients to actually have this currency trade, and they can be able to use it globally. So that is why we have chosen gold dinar. Gold dinar and silver dirham is not about only currencies, by the way. Most of the Arab countries call their currencies as dirham or dinar, although they are not backed by the gold itself. However, the fascinating thing about BaitulMaal is that we provide, let's say somebody actually added into a transaction within the company or within the institution itself. That particular person earns a commission and that's what makes the system actually
So
run.
that person earns a commission based on them bringing somebody else in?
When you bring somebody else, it's like you have introduced someone else. And as you introduce someone else, what happens is whenever that particular person makes transaction within the institution, you are able to earn a certain percentage from the company.
So you benefit from bringing others into the system.
Of course you do, yes.
Now, common perception is that Muslims are prohibited from dealing in interest, as you said, and it's sorted with the Islamic way of dealing with financial institutions and how you have explained BaitulMaal acts. But you, as BaitulMaal, also did say that this wasn't the case. It doesn't exactly, it's not the same. Can you explain to me your correct position then?
In Islam, when you look at something and you want to call something Islamic, it has to have a base in Islam. It's something that you can be able to go back and to find out in the Islamic jurisprudence. What does it say? Does it have a base? It is something that you can be able to prove. That there is a verse of the Quran that talks about that, or there is a saying of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that can be able to actually address that. Anything those two issues don't address is a product of analogy. And therefore, but however, you will be able to find in a legal ruling what is essentially called fatwa that can be able to actually guide and permit that particular thing. However, the problem with Islamic banking, although people were enthusiastic that there will be a solution,
yes,
the problem with Islamic banking is that when you look at the Islamic transaction as far as what you call fiqhul mu'amalat, the concept that deals with, it's a whole campus, but now our interest is the economic part of it. When you look at that, there is no single ruling as far as Islam is concerned that can be able to actually accept both the financial transaction in it and the banking in it. However, you can be able to get one that accepts the final transaction and another one that accepts on banking aspects. But however, marrying the two together or bringing them together, we will not be able to find an act or a ruling that says that. Because what works is the fractional reserve banking system and how that particular money is created. So the money itself is the problem. And that's why...
Yes, let me just stop you there. You know, these matters are of course regulated by the Finance Act, Central Bank of Kenya Act, and the Banking Act. How effective are these institutions like BaitulMaal in compliance with these regulations as we wrap up?
Okay, thank you. As far as us being guided by the acts are concerned, first of all, we need to look at the constitution itself. Because when you look at Kenya, the law, the constitution is supreme. The other laws that are made in parliament, others that are called subsidiary laws, the customs laws, all of them undercome the constitution.
Yes.
And the constitution is very clear under the Bill of Rights, chapter 4, that you cannot be able to make a law that contravenes other people's interests and faiths. For instance, a very good example, Kenya cannot set just a law prohibiting Muslim women to take off their veils. The same way it cannot be able to write laws that can be able to actually instruct Muslims to take meat of pork. Or
yes.
we have differences, and those differences have actually been addressed by the Constitution itself.
So essentially, the Constitution is giving you the right to have such an
institution.
Yes,
because if the Banking Acts and the Finance Bill Acts are actually applied to us,
yes,
that becomes unconstitutional, because the institution itself is, when we talk about Islamic BaitulMaal, it is Islamic institution that provides that platform. So this is a religious problem. And a religious problem requires a religious approach actually to solve that particular problem.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. That is Abdiaziz Saney from the BaitulMaal Islamic Financial Institution. On that note, we're going to take a short break, but stay right here on KTN News. We'll be back with Business Today.